This morning, Hurricane Frances swirls over Florida. She's been pounding parts of the state the past 24 hours.
I can appreciate the fury of Mother Nature. It's the most powerful thing in the world.
From Melbourne all the way down Florida's east coast, pitch black neighborhoods, raging winds, rising floodwaters, even fire. It's far from over, and we have live severe weather team coverage all over the state. That is amazing, the transformer blowing. Good morning, I'm Greg Warman.
I'm Vanessa Eccles. Just moments ago, the National Hurricane Center issued its latest advisory this morning. Let's go right over to our team of meteorologists in Severe Weather Center 9.
Absolutely, we've got that advisory in right now. New coordinates, the new track. It's weakened a little bit, not as much as we would hope for, but at least it is on that downward trend. Let's show the coordinates and everything right now. 27.2 north and 80.5 west. Winds down to 100 miles per hour, which still keeps it at a Category 2 storm. Pressure has increased a little bit by 3 millibars, so overall that weakening trend has begun, but still looks like it's holding its form pretty nicely, and that is what we don't necessarily like to see. The forecast track, essentially it is on track, still keeping it to the south of our area, but again, we've been talking about the wind field. It's so large.
It's immense.
Yeah, and unfortunately, right now it still is generating a lot of bands down toward the Vero Beach area. Jamie, you and I were just talking about that. And,
we were almost kind of hopeful that Vero Beach was out from underneath it, at least for a little while, and it was for a little while. But unfortunately, boy, it's starting to get very active once again. Yeah, let's take a look at this right here. As you can see, the outer wall here, the eastern section of the storm, right through here. Look at that, a big flare up and showers and thunderstorms associated with it right now. It is just getting really, really, unfortunately, beefy once again, just offshore. And as you can see, it is rotating its way right back into there right now. So unfortunately, we're going to be dealing with very gusty conditions. Of course, over hurricane strength force winds, once again, pounding parts of Indian River and southern Brevard County. They got enough of it last night, and into this early morning, we're going to see it once again. There was that break, but now poised to come back on shore. That's the other side of the eye, and it will be moving its way onshore over the next 2 hours or so. So another couple of hours, and then after that, hopefully, we'll have some good news for the folks in Indian River and southern Brevard County. The rest of the area is still looking pretty active, too.
And, you know, that is just, and for people who are listening to us down there, it's not that bad right now in Vero and just a little bit further north in Indian River County, but literally it is just a wall of oranges, and it's all getting ready to work on shore, and that is really sustained hurricane force winds, still more damaging winds, too. So just not, unfortunately, escaping it. And also up that band toward Daytona Beach right now. That band is continuing to look pretty impressive.
Yeah, we've been talking about the rainfall, that we're really going to be switching gears pretty soon as the winds continue to die out. We're going to switch from the wind problems and the storm surge problems down to the south to more of a rain event as the squally weather continues across central Florida. And even an hour ago, it was kind of quiet. And now look at it. Basically, the radar screen is being filled right now from eastern Marion County all the way to the coast and offshore. So we have a tremendous amount of rain that's still going to be marching its way into central Florida. So we're definitely not out from underneath it. It is, as we keep mentioning, it's just beginning, especially here in the metro area. So don't let your guard down. Don't think that was it during the overnight hours, because there's still a lot out there.
And actually, one more thing to note, too, another band right here that's getting ready to work its way into Titusville and probably Port St. John. So it hasn't been, obviously it's been rainy and windy there, but it's about to pick up once again as this band does work on shore.
Here's some good news. Yeah, here's some good news, though. Early warning tornado tracker. Right now, we're not seeing any indications that tornadoes are embedded within us, because, boy, we had a ton of them last night as the first leading band moved through. We just had probably 5, 6 storms that looked like they were producing tornadoes at a time. So at least we're not looking at tornadic activity, but very gusty winds within it. We're easily above hurricane strength force gusts heading in towards the coast right now. So that can be a really, really huge problem.
And one final note, too, the National Weather Service has downgraded the inland hurricane wind warning to an inland tropical storm wind warning for Orange County and for many other locations, but we're still talking about the possibility of very strong tropical storm force winds across many inland locations, and obviously Osceola County, Brevard County, and Indian River still seeing these hurricane winds. So winds are still going to be a problem, and also the rainfall too.
Yeah, and still have that tornado watching effects for another couple of hours here in central Florida. So not out from under the gun whatsoever, and for a fact it's going to get very busy over the next couple of hours here in the metro area.
All right, we'll check back with you throughout the morning. Here's the latest information this morning. More than 2 million customers, homes and businesses are without power across the state. Locally, Florida Power and Light says 20,000 customers are in the dark in Volusia County. The Kissimmee Utility Authority says about 3,800 customers are without power. And at this time, 2 deaths are being blamed on Hurricane Frances. Both of those were in the Bahamas. President Bush has declared every Florida county a disaster area. In addition, at this time, homeowners and small business owners in Brevard, Indian River, Martin, Palm Beach and St. Lucie counties are eligible for long-term federal assistance. We are starting to get the sense of how badly Brevard County has been battered during Hurricane Francis. Now take a look at this. This is some video from Melbourne, a Citgo gas station. High winds just ripped that gas station apart. That's where Channel 9's Carl Willis joins us live now to continue our severe weather team coverage. Carl, what can you see there?
Well, Vanessa, we're back in Palm Bay right now, taking cover in Steve Barrett's Channel 9 bunker here in Palm Bay. You can see that we're still getting a whole lot of wind here. It's blowing the lake that's right behind me. You can't quite see it because it's a little dark. But just now we were in Melbourne at a building at Waverly Place and Straw Bridge for an apparent electrical fire. Firefighters feared that someone was still trapped inside of that burning building. They were called out because of a power line that was arcing over another building nearby, but they soon noticed that a restaurant with apartments on top were on fire. Now, crews thought that someone might still be inside, and they thought they would, they fought wind and swaying power lines to knock down that fire, but fortunately no one was inside. Now, folks taking shelter across the street in a business almost had to evacuate because of the smoke. It was so dense. They saw the whole incident unfold.
We heard the
Now, Fire Chief Walt Chamberlain says there are a bunch of these electrical fires all over Brevard County. He doesn't have an exact number because he's been out fighting these. He's asking people, if they do see arcing power lines, to please stay inside until the fire crews or the police can come and volush that everything is safe. That is the very latest. Reporting live in Brevard County, Carl Willis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Carl, thank you. The storm surge has pounded Volusia County beaches, and we are getting reports of damage there as well. Channel 9's Tim Stockman continues our live severe weather team coverage in Volusia County with the latest on the situation. Tim, good morning.
Good morning to you. Not a very good morning in Volusia County so far. The winds are really picking up. I clocked them at about 40 miles per hour. That was about 45 minutes ago, and right now I know the gusts are stronger than that because they simply feel stronger. Look at the parking lot. Look at the wind whipping across there. Greg, I got to tell you, I've now seen it all. The rain is coming sideways, it's coming straight down, it's coming straight at me. It looks like sometimes it's coming from the ground. I don't even know how many directions this rain is hitting me right now, but it's pretty incredible out here. The winds are really starting to pick up. Let's go ahead over here. I want to show you the marina, what we can see of it right now. This rain and this wind is really wreaking havoc on the boats here. You can see our boat bobbing up and down there in the water, and the water level is gradually rising there. Now we're seeing the waves of the Intracoastal Waterway start to come up into this parking lot. It's only a few inches below, and as the tide comes in and as we start to really get a gauge on the storm surge, I think we're going to lose this parking lot here. Have had some damage reports from around Volusia County right now, but we haven't really put any eyes on it because, quite frankly, Greg, we've been bunkered in our we have a niche here. We're in the fire station number 1 of the Daytona Beach Fire Department, and we have a little niche in the wall that we kind of hide in when the wind really picks up. And so once daylight breaks and hopefully we get a break from some of this rain, we're going to go out there and check out and see exactly what's happening. I have been keeping an eye on the beach side, the evacuated area, and it's starting to look really dark over there. And I've seen also over here on the mainland, I've seen a lot of those famous blue explosions that are the transformers going out. And I know we put a number up there, 20,000 people from FPL have lost power so far in Volusia County. Well, we're going to try to update that soon because I'm pretty positive it's a lot more now. Greg?
All right, Tim, thank you. Now, the eye wall crossed just south of Fort Pierce last night, and the damage reports there are extensive. Channel 9's Cynthia Demas continues our live severe weather team coverage now from Fort Pierce with what things look like right now. Cynthia?
Well, actually, Vanessa, we're going to start with a little bit of good because actually at this very moment, it's pretty nice out here. We've gotten quite a bit of a break ever since that eye passed through and we were on the very northern tip of it. I don't know, it just seems to be really calm. Look. The trees, look at the trees. They're barely blowing. I know we've shown those trees over and over again, and they've been bent over part of the time. Right now, I don't want to jinx us, but things are looking okay out here right now. We know that's going to change. The damage, however, now let's go on to the not so good news. The damage we've seen is extensive. Take a look at what we found. This is what we're seeing a lot of signs that have been knocked down like this. You see that those have totally disappeared. Here, trees were snapped like toothpicks. A dangerous light here dangled over the road as Francis came from every direction. Now, this is one of the eerier sights we've seen. We can't get very close to it because of this gate right here. But take a look at this palm tree. It fell, it snapped right in half, and it crashed right into this pool. The pool looks like it's completely black because no one knows what's in there now. There's probably a lot of stuff that fell on the bottom of that pool. The water's black. This tree is completely snapped in half and is laying in the pool right there. Now, we did see a lot of power poles and things. Anything of wood like this had no problem just snapping in half. Water is continuing to fill the area as Frances still cannot be stopped. And more than anything that we're seeing in the area is debris like this all over the road. It is scattered everywhere you look. It's going to be a really hard time for cars to get through. This stuff is absolutely everywhere. And there is a curfew in place right now here in St. Lucie County. And I'm sure when the sun comes up, we are going to find quite a few people trying to find out exactly what's been going on. We also know, at last check anyway, I think it was about 75,000 people in this area, this particular county, without power. And just north of us in Indian River County, the last check, it was about 42,000 people without power. We're going to get some updated numbers on that for you as well. So that is the situation out here. We're going to enjoy the calmness while it lasts. We don't know how long that will be. Live in Fort Pierce, Cynthia Demas, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Cynthia, I just checked. If you're listening, less than an hour and you'll get pounded again. So be careful out there and be safe. It's now 5:10. Frances is slowly moving towards Orange County as well. Channel 9's Mary Wynn continues our live severe weather team coverage from Orange County. Mary, it looks like you've got a little bit of calm before the storm.
Well, it's definitely not too bad compared to what Cynthia was experiencing here. You've got some rain. It's kind of up and down. You get some gusts and they'll start picking up. Let's show you over here. You can see this tree over here. It's not moving too much, but as you can see, as the wind gusts pick up, the tree is starting to move. Now over here, you can see the flap of the flags. You can see how the flags are moving. You can kind of see how the rain is kind of coming at a horizontal direction. It's not too bad. We've been checking our wind gauge and the winds are going anywhere from 5 to 20 miles per hour over here. Now, I just got a report at the EOC over at Orlando International Airport. They are experiencing wind gusts of up to 50 miles per hour. And over at the EOC, they also tell me that there's about 27,000 people without power in the Orange County, Volusia, and Seminole County area. The crews have not gone out yet. As a matter of fact, I just got off the phone with the police officer over in the Paramore district. He tells me that one of the poles has an electrical surge, and that's been going on overnight. So definitely when people go outside and power lines are down, do not walk in that area. Be careful. There's also been some flooding on our way out here. So you have to really be careful. This is really nothing. We're waiting for the next couple hours when things should be getting busier. So that's what we have here. Live in Orange County, Mary Wynn, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Mary, thank you very much. Be safe. We'll be checking with her throughout the morning as well. Time right now, 5:12 on this Sunday edition of Hurricane Frances Daybreak.
We're getting some new information about power outages. We're going to bring that to you. We are committed to bringing you up-to-the-minute live severe weather team coverage as Hurricane Frances moves over Florida.
And let's take a live look outside right now. You can see that things are really blowing in Volusia County this morning. The palm trees there still withstanding the pressure, but we've had awnings down and things basically have been ripped apart, and the storm is just basically intensifying. There you see some of the law enforcement officers cruising the streets. The curfew is still in place there as well. We'll go back live to Volusia County. Right now we want to tell you about our radio coverage. This is a good time to go ahead and grab a radio and put it on one of these stations.
In Orlando, K92 FM, Power 95.3, Star 94.5, 950 AM and 1520 AM.
In Daytona, which we just showed you the live picture there, Froggy 99.9 FM. In Melbourne and Brevard County, A1A, that's 107.1, 102.7 FM as well, 95.9 FM, and our good friends at 1560 AM as well. This reminder, too, you can log on to our website at WFTV.com for live streaming newscast and all the coverage we're also providing for you on the web. We'll be right back.
You are watching continuous live severe weather team coverage of Hurricane Frances, and this is a live look from our Daytona Beach tower cam, and you can see that it's going in and out for good reason, and that's because Volusia County is getting hammered right now by Hurricane Frances wind and rain, and we saw a live report from Tim Stockman just a few minutes ago. Boy, oh boy.
The world's most famous beach, now the world's most battered beach. In 1999, 100 feet of pier was lost, and we don't know if we've had any pier damage because it's still dark. Sun will come up in, what, about an hour and 15, hour and 20?
Yeah, sunrise will be in. Unfortunately, well, the good news for Daytona Beach, they haven't seen the worst stuff yet. So that is good, but they are getting battered right now. In fact, early warning Doppler 9000 getting very active. Remember, we kind of had a little bit of a break over the last 2 hours or so in the northern parts of the viewing area. And
there's still actually right now, too, over most of the Orlando metro area, a bit of a break, but that is going to be coming to a close pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're going to fill it in. Lots of rain anticipated across central Florida all day long today. First, I'm going to take you around with early warning Doppler 9000, then Joe's going to let us know what the latest coordinates and tracks are as far as our hurricane goes. Boy, it has been one heck of a night out there across the area, folks, and it's going to be one heck of a day because we're talking about heavy, heavy rain. Palm Coast to Flagler Beach, some very gusty conditions coming in right now. Also Daytona Beach. That's why our tower cam was going in and out, but just now beginning to get out from underneath the worst of it around Daytona and Port Orange. We'll start to see subsiding just slightly. You see New Smyrna Beach beginning to clear out right now, but just as soon as it clears out, more is on the way. So DeLeon Springs, Cody's Corner, still looking at heavy rain, and we'll continue to see that. We'll take you down a little bit more past Alexander Springs over into the Lynn area, Moss Bluff, Summerfield, the Villages, Lady Lake down towards Lake Eustis. So some heavy rain out there. Very gusty winds out here also from time to time. So we're going to see the winds gusting up to hurricane force strength in some locations, even inland heading into the next couple of hours as the center of circulation moves off to the south. And as Joe just mentioned, Orlando taking a break right now. Christmas, though, more heavy rain on the way. Also some very strong bands. In fact, let's pinpoint these moving in towards the Cape right now. Yeah, exactly. Very impressive. The red, when you get reds right now, you're talking about some extremely heavy rain and very, very gusty winds. Good news so far, taking a quick peek myself over Tornado Tracker, not seeing anything indicating any rotation within those storms. So right now, it doesn't look like we'll have to deal with tornadoes, but we will deal with some wind damage as this next batch moves on towards Port St. John, Titusville, Cocoa, and over towards Rockledge. And then I'm going to expand out the picture because I want to take you down to the center of circulation, which is way down here, still over towards Stewart and Vero Beach. And we were just watching Cynthia, and in fact, Greg and Vanessa were asking Joe and I when this was going to get hit once again. Look at the eye wall here. Look at the eastern side here, the yellows and the oranges here, and even more out further. So right now, out of the Gulf Stream, it's the Gulf Stream.
It is still, it's still very, very active.
Very, very unstable here, and this is unfortunately going to go back into that same area that got battered earlier, Vero Beach, up towards the southern parts here of southern Brevard County. So Mico southward through Sebastian and Floridana Beach also getting in on that. Stewart, you're going to see some of these extremely dangerous rain bands continue.
And even some of these bands, too, looks like, Jamie, they're still offshore, but it looks like some of these heavier bands starting to weather their way toward Cocoa, also toward Melbourne. So still very, very active.
Yeah, not a pretty sight out there, and it's extremely heavy rain, and as slow moving as our center of circulation is, it's going to slowly move across the extreme southern parts of the viewing area, which means all that rain that's to the northeast to the center, well offshore, is just going to continue to move here into central Florida. So the rain is going to continue, and it is going to be on the heavy side.
Yeah, and one final note, too, before we kind of switch over and go with some more general impacts of the storm is that, again, we've got this little breather, but we can't emphasize enough that it's going to be coming to a close pretty quickly as the storm continues to push inland. And you can see, actually, we just loop that one more time, you can plainly see how that gap is quickly kind of being replaced as some of these bands continue to push further and further inland.
And of course, our apologies for the folks that can't view this but are listening to us. But you know what? It is very difficult to pinpoint when you're dealing with such an extensive amount of rainfall. There really is literally rainfall, if you're not able to see it, over, I'd say, 95% of the viewing area.
Yeah.
You know, about 5%. There's a little sliver through the middle here where you're not seeing too much in terms of rainfall. But don't worry, if you're not seeing rain now, you will, because it's all moving its way across central Florida.
Now, as far as the winds go, currently they are still pretty impressive in some locations. Obviously, where the winds are the worst, we've actually lost our wind sensors. So down here, where winds are more than likely sustained at hurricane force, we have no more official observations. But on the periphery of the storm in Daytona Beach, where we've got one of those more impressive squalls right now, we've got nearly sustained tropical storm force winds. Even Orlando, winds sustained at around 31 miles per hour. The gusts in Daytona Beach up to 51, Sanford gusting up to 53, and those gusts will simply continue as the storm continues to make inland progress over the next several hours until, unfortunately, this afternoon when it's finally going to start to ever so slowly move out of the area. We're going to continue emphasizing the fact that tornado watches are still in effect. Again, as of right now, Jamie was checking the early warning 9 tornado tracker. No indications of any tornadic activity right now. Hopefully it will stay that way. Of course, we did have tornado warnings when this system was starting to bring some of its might through last night, but since then things have been relatively calm as far as tornadoes do go. You can still see all the rainfall, though. Flood watches are still in effect for pretty much all of central Florida, and obviously with all this rain coming on shore, we could see the potential for some major flooding. One final note before we toss it back to the desk. The coordinates 27.2 north and 80.5 west. winds 100 miles per hour. Unfortunately, the system as of 5 a.m. really hasn't weakened all that significantly, but it will continue to gradually weaken. That being said, we're still dealing with all of the rainfall and even the wind, too. The wind will still be a bit of a problem in many locations with tropical storm force winds sustained and possibly some hurricane force gusts, and the track continues to take it ever so slowly through central Florida.
Yeah, the rain really going to be a problem coming up during the afternoon hours and even late this morning, and add on to that the wind. So again, we're not going to see winds sustained above hurricane strength in all of central Florida, but the wind gusts will be in many locations above hurricane strength as those gusty winds come in with the squally conditions.
And those gusts can still do a lot of damage.
Absolutely, trees will be coming down. More folks, unfortunately, are going to continue to lose power also.
Yeah, they are, and of course, we're going to track it extremely closely. And again, that note on the tornadic activity, if anything does become tornadic, we will let people know. But as of right now, we're okay.
Yep.
Back to you guys.
Thanks a lot.
All right, they were talking about power. We're seeing signs of damage and power outages in downtown Orlando.
Our live severe weather team coverage continues right now with Channel 9's Zach Klein. And Zach, what's the situation where you are?
Well, the first sign of power outages came about a little over 4.5 hours ago, about 1 o'clock in the morning, and folks in this area are used to it near downtown. When Charlie came to town a little over 3 weeks ago, Delaney and Thornton Parks were absolutely hammered by those thunderstorms and hurricane winds. Hundreds of trees, live oaks snapped down. This is how people are preparing for this time around. Francis, 13 cars under the 408 and Summerlin Expressway trying to avoid debris. Power outages going out a little over about 1 o'clock in the morning. A 2-block radius just north of South Street in downtown Orlando without power. Then you see the debris on the grounds, and it's hard to differentiate between the old debris and the new debris. But the folks at the Waverly were taking this all in stride before the strong winds came to town. They are relaxing, knowing that the worst is yet to come.
We're just having a good time, waiting to see what's going to happen.
You at all worried about the storm that's moving west?
No, my car got totaled last hurricane, so I have nothing to worry about this time.
This is not the situation I believe that the people in Vero Beach are feeling at this moment. But right now, this is a pleasant situation, and right now we are enjoying it.
They are enjoying it, but they promised their family members at home to not worry when the strong thunderstorms and hurricane winds come to Orlando. They vowed and promised us to go inside and take precautions. Unfortunately, though, we have reports of looting in Orange County. 15 people were spotted running away from the men's warehouse at Silver Star and Hiawassee Road in Orange County. We have a crew on the way. We'll have more updated information on that in the coming moments. And near Apopka, a tree fell through a house. Two family members were inside that house. They were trapped until fire and rescue crews arrived. They were taken to Florida Hospital with minor injuries. And Progress Energy just phoned, guys. As of right now, 5% of their total customers are without power. That translates to 75,000 homes. And here in Orange County, 11% of the Progress Energy customers are without power. That's 34,000 homes, 34,000 customers without power. And those numbers, they say, expected to increase when the storms invade Orange County and here in downtown Orlando. Live in Orange County near downtown, Zach Klein, Channel 9 Eyewitness News. Guys, let's send it back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks, Zach. And again, as we've been mentioning all morning long, the storms really haven't even approached Orange County to any significance just yet, and we already have all that damage. You are watching continuous coverage of Hurricane Francis.
We continue to get new video in from across the state. Now, take a look at this. This is from Haulover Beach, that is in Broward County in South Florida. Boats were tossed around, and then you can see not only tossed around, but underwater, and the waves there are just fierce. Take a look at that.
Wow, the boat's actually underwater. And right now, let's take a look at this. Is some video from Fort Pierce right now, and you see exactly that's just about a little bit north of where the eye made landfall. And again, winds blowing, heavy rains throughout the morning, and we understand within the next 30 or 40 minutes, the northern side of that eye wall will come ashore in Fort Pierce in the Vero Beach area, and those folks will get pounded again. So this is the basic calm before the storm there. In West Palm Beach, talk about intimidation. Look at this. State troopers roll through the streets in an armored vehicle checking for stranded motorists. That's impressive. They also patrolled local mobile home parks and other areas considered as mandatory evacuation areas. Wow, what a vehicle there. And people in the Nassau, Bahamas area already in the cleanup process this morning. After Francis moved through last night, they started to remove hurricane shutters from buildings. Many people were in the streets viewing the damage caused by more than 105-mile-per-hour winds. We have 2 deaths to report from the Bahamas as well, 1 a drowning and 1 an electrocution. Many people have been there, and they see, I think that's the straw market, just annihilated there by Hurricane Francis. All right. You are watching continuous coverage of Hurricane Francis.
Our live severe weather team is stationed across the state of Florida. We'll have more live reports coming up.
And Conroy Vinyl, this is the exit right there to the mall at Millennia, and you also know that's where it also says welcome to Orlando over I-4. And what a welcome this would be for folks who are in from out of town. Boy, what an experience on their vacation. It's no vacation, and again, the strength of the storm has not been felt yet by Orange County. We'll be right back.
We're a little more than an hour away from daylight in Central Florida. We will soon see the damage that Hurricane Frances is leaving behind. It is a Labor Day weekend we will never forget. Good morning, I'm Vanessa Eccles.
And I'm Greg Wormuth, no doubt about it. In fact, Monday, many people will be laboring, trying to clean up from Hurricane Frances. Let's go right now to our team of meteorologists. Tom Terry, after a quick nap, is in Severe Weather Center 9, and he rejoins us. And Tom, the storm didn't sleep well. I know you got just a couple of hours of shut-eye.
Yeah, I'm not going to kid you saying I was working behind the scenes. I was sawing logs behind the scenes for just a couple of hours, but we're back in now. And I want to be able to show you the center of the storm. For those of you who are just waking up, I hope you got a little bit of sleep here in Central Florida. This storm is onshore, moved onshore around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning to our south, but the outer portion of this is still developing off the coast. She's not letting go just yet. 27.2 north, 80.5 west, and that puts the storm onshore right now. Very deliberate movement. Moving west now at 8 miles per hour. This is the only good news we have, is that the storm has weakened, obviously, but it has only weakened 5 miles an hour in the last 5 hours since it moved onshore, and that is remarkable. That's because it's still over the Gulf Stream, still keeping the pressure still fairly low right now, and it continues to move to the west at 8 miles per hour. This is the official track. From right now, this is the newest track, starting right here, moving all the way up through and southern parts of Polk County. We'll start to see the worst of this weather later this morning and into the afternoon. Winds will actually start to pick up a lot more in this general area, but not nearly as strong as she was obviously last night and early this morning as she continues to work on through. And we're going to adjust the county maps. We already have. We'll have that for you in just a minute. Current winds right now, almost 40 miles an hour. This is the sustained tropical force winds. As you wake up this morning, it will be breezy, it will be squally, it will be wet, especially here along the coast. And here are the current wind gusts, 51 miles an hour in Daytona, 53 in Sanford. We had a peak wind of 48 here at the station. And you can see right now we still have the potential of tornadoes. We'll keep that in mind. And I'm especially concerned later today as well, as we get some more dry air mixed into this. We could really start to fire up some more of the convection over Central Florida and get just good old-fashioned storms going the way we kind of did, pardon me, with Charlie as he was moving onshore. A couple quick radar stops here. We're going to be doing a lot of this again throughout the day today. You see very, very heavy amounts of rain and just a little bit of lightning, but not much here from just north of Palm Coast to northern parts of Flagler County down through Flagler Beach. This is our new high-resolution radar that we used during Charlie and now during Frances. Pearson, Astor, DeLand, across Volusia County, still lots of very heavy to moderate rainfall and more squally weather now here along the coast. Squally defined as, at least in my vernacular, is a very heavy burst of rain and wind. It's the rain and wind like a double-fisted punch combined. That's what we're getting here along the coastline. Cocoa through Rockledge, and even here in downtown Orlando, it will be a very wet Sunday, the middle part of this Labor Day weekend. Guys, we're still watching out for the potential of at least 12 inches of rain across many areas. We hope we don't have to raise that any higher, but some of our forecast models are still going upwards of 12 to 15 inches of rain along the East Coast, and I guarantee you we already have 5 or 6 inches up to this point, and we're going to continue to keep adding to that. I think we're going to come very close again to a little over a foot for most people, and let's hope we can stop it right there. A lot more from Severe Weather Center 9 coming up in just a moment.
All right, Tom, thank you. Frances is still, again, hours away from actually pounding downtown Orlando, if you will, but the damage is already evident in Brevard County. Let's go to Brevard County, where Carl Willis is standing by right now with the latest on the conditions there. Carl?
Well, Greg, Brevard is taking a beating right now. We're sheltered at this point where we're standing from the wind, but if you can take a look right behind me, you can see that it is blowing. Last night in the rooms that we were staying, they were being pelted by snapped branches and debris all night long, and the power went out right around 8:30. And it's the power and the power lines that fire crews are battling this morning. A little while ago over in Melbourne, an apartment caught fire because of a short in a power line. The entire second floor was gutted by the flames. Crews thought that someone might still be inside and fought with wind and snapped power lines and swaying power lines, making it very dangerous while they battled that. Fortunately, no one was inside, but nearly 50 people were evacuated because of the thick smoke that was in the area.
We heard the transformer blow, and we called the fire department, and the fire department was sitting out in the street, and we turned around and this building was on fire. So we've got 23 people downstairs with 4 dogs and a cat, and 20 people upstairs with about 5 dogs.
Now those folks all made it out safely. The power is out in their building, however. Now the fire chief, Walt Chamberlain of Melbourne County, says that if you see arcing power lines, please stay clear of them and stay inside if possible until a crew can get there and make it safe. That is the very latest. Reporting live in Brevard County, Carl Willis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Carl, thank you. Now this morning, more than 2 million people are without power across the state. Florida Power and Light has about 86,000 customers without power. Nearly 80,000 of those are in Brevard County. Progress Energy has roughly 27,000 customers in the dark. Orlando Utilities Commission has 6,000, and the Kissimmee Utility Authority is reporting 3,800 customers now without electricity.
Besides knocking out power, Hurricane Francis has dumped, as we've been mentioning, torrential rains across Florida. Jay Gray shows us some of the destruction left in Vero Beach.
With nightfall, the storm stepped up its intensity. This mobile home was ripped apart. There were fireworks from Francis up and down the coast. Blown transformers and downed power lines left at least 2 million without power. Conditions were so severe, police used armored personnel vehicles to patrol and enforce the curfew. Though much earlier in the day, many made a last dash to safety, thousands are waiting and watching Francis from shelters. Wind gusts close to 100 miles an hour sucked the roofs from homes. Traffic lights hung by a thread. Boats ripped from their moorings were tossed around like toys. All day and all night, Francis continued to pound the Florida coast with no clear end in sight.
All right, as we've been showing you this morning, Francis is slowly moving toward Orange County, and Channel 9's Mary Wynn continues our live severe weather team coverage from Orange County. Mary, what's it like out there right now?
Well, right now, the winds aren't too bad. It starts to pick up every so often. We had just looked at our wind gauge, and it was about 11 miles per hour right out here. It goes anywhere between 5 miles per hour up until 20 miles per hour, and as you can see, the rain is going horizontal. Let's go ahead and take a look at this tree. It's not moving too much right now because the wind gust seems to have died down a little bit, but if you look behind over there, behind this tree, the leaves are starting to blow, the trees are blowing back and forth. Here at the EOC, they're saying more and more people are losing power. At last glance, Progress Energy reported 27,000 customers without power, and also OUC reported 3,000 people without power. There's currently 7,300 people in shelters. The shelters are not taking anyone until after the storm hits. Now, it is definitely kind of quiet over here, but they are expecting the brunt of the storm later in the next couple of hours, and also at 8 o'clock there will be a briefing to get the latest here in Orange County. Reporting live at the EOC, Mary Wynn, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Mary, thank you. You are watching continuous coverage of Hurricane Francis. The time now is 5:35.
Ahead, we'll return to our live severe weather team stationed across Central Florida.
And right now, this is a live picture from Fort Pierce. This is where the northern end of the eye wall came ashore shortly after midnight. We'll be right back. All right, let's get the latest now on Hurricane Francis. Another update from the National Hurricane Center came in about 5 o'clock this morning. Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry is over in Severe Weather Center 9. What's the latest?
All right, thanks a lot. We're tracking the very latest on this storm system. She is still on shore, moved onshore earlier today and continues. Let's go right now to Pink 9. 27.2 north, 80.5 west. It is moving onshore just west of Stuart now. She made landfall more or less around Stuart in Martin County around midnight to 1 a.m. There you see the wind still at 100 miles per hour, now picking up a little bit of forward speed to the west at 8. This has all been according to schedule. She will continue to move west and I think jog more northwest, north of Lake Okeechobee, and then continue to work through our southern parts of our viewing area here in Central Florida. And by later today, you've seen a lot of reporters here in Orlando. Perhaps you've been out early this morning. Winds aren't all that bad. Pardon me. And it looks like the winds will probably pick up gradually between now and the noon hour. So between now and noon, you will notice a little bit more, especially as we start to energize this with a little sunshine. You'll start to notice a little more in the way of sustained winds, but not nearly as much as what they've been getting down here along the lower coast, thankfully for that. You can see very heavy squalls here, Melbourne, all the way up the coast for our radio listeners through Cocoa, Titusville. It's going to be a relentless rain for several more hours to come. Probably at least 5-6 inches of rain has fallen already, and the totals are going to keep climbing. A little bit of lightning here to the north would suggest to me we're getting just some good old-fashioned thunderstorms starting to form around the northern edge of this. So we're going to get some more lightning mixing in with some of the heavy rain across the Flagler County area. And let's zoom in right now to downtown Orlando. We already have some reports of power outages, unfortunately, again in Orlando, and probably some of the hard-hit areas that went without power as Charlie moved by a little over 3 weeks ago. Oviedo, Chuliota, some moderate rain. And again, these squalls are still really racing through the state at probably close to 55 to 60 miles per hour. So if you can hear me right now, expect more rain and more wind, especially along our southeastern coastline. Let me go back and show you the latest track on this storm. And again, the Hurricane Center's done a wonderful job here so far with the track and timing of this system. We've been monitoring our own forecast models also back in Severe Weather Center 9, and they are verifying what the information we're getting from the National Hurricane Center. So we're all on the same page here. You see the track taking it north of Lake Okeechobee, but overall, as we pointed out, the center is so broad that the center is almost going to take a wide path through northern Highlands County, southern Polk County. She is going to weaken. Once she finally moves onshore entirely, she will not have the Gulf Stream off the Atlantic to keep her energized. But that means she's going to start to unravel. So that's why we're going to really watch for more severe storms, especially southern counties, Polk and Osceola, and all of our southern coverage area here through southern Orange, Lake, and Sumter as she eventually works her way. This is Monday. This is tomorrow at 2 a.m. So we still have a lot of weather yet to come, a lot of rain yet to come, and I'm especially concerned about the potential of locally heavy downpours. There you see the current winds about 40 miles an hour, current wind gusts 45 to 53. These are in squalls, but now we're starting to get more sustained winds. And that red box on the map right over Central Florida, still the potential of tornadoes. The expected rainfall really has not changed. We really harped on this quite a bit. And this will probably verify. In other words, we'll probably start to see these totals when the storm is done. This is by the time the storm moves out on Monday, 15 to 20 inches along the coast and 10 to 15 inches across the interior. And I think those are very doable numbers. And I don't want to talk much more about the potential flood threat there because it's implicit. We are going to have some more flooding potential very high later today. Maximum winds, this is for you folks in Osceola County. Here in the next few hours between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., we're still expecting to see some gusty winds, especially down here to the south. Now, counties to the north, we're still updating these maps based on the latest track. Kissimmee, St. Cloud at 80. I'm probably going to lower you guys down to 70. I haven't had to update this just yet, but I'm going to lower you down to about 70 miles an hour. So I'm going to keep you below hurricane force maximum winds later today. All right, so there's a little bit of good news in the midst of all this bad news. So there you see the latest radar. It is still very wet all along the coast. Stay tuned, folks. It's going to be a very wet day today. You want to make sure that if you're in Central Florida, you're prepared and don't get out later today. That's our advice. Stay home.
And that's, of course, the mandatory words have been put out by all the sheriffs across Central Florida.
Curfew?
Yep, stay off the roads. Let's go to Volusia County now, and Tim Stockman really throughout these early morning hours has just gotten pounded. Tim, it doesn't look like it's let up on you any out there.
Well, the good news is right now it's not raining nearly as much as the last time I talked to you, but the wind is still gusting well over 40 miles per hour. Take a look at our boat over here. I want to pay attention down here to the seawall here. You can see how close the water is to coming up into this parking lot. It's just kind of spraying up there. Normally the levels are a couple feet below that this parking lot area right now. So as the tide is moving, and we expect a high tide, I believe around 9 o'clock. So we're going to be watching this as the tide comes up. You can see it's just spraying up and over there, and the wind is really whipping over these waves right now. It's been pretty relentless over the past hour now. The rain has let up finally. This is the first respite from rain that we've had, but I'm sure we're expecting more on the way. But the wind has been fairly consistent for the past hour. It's been pretty heavy. It's been around 30 miles per hour sustained, and we're still seeing a lot of flashes off in the distance, so I imagine we're losing more and more power customers with every passing moment. We're certainly keeping an eye on that. Haven't had any reports yet. I know FPL, Florida Power and Light, had told us a few hours ago that 20,000 customers were without power in the area. I'm sure that'll be much more. And you can see now the wind as we look over this parking lot now. You can see the trees are just being brutalized by this wind right now. It's just pretty relentless. This is about the worst wind that we've seen in Volusia County since I've been here since 3 o'clock this morning, and it only seems to be getting worse. And that's the very latest from Daytona Beach. We're going to stick around and see how conditions turn out here as we wait out the rest of Francis. Tim Stockman reporting, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Tim, thank you. We'll go back live with him throughout the morning as Volusia County, amazingly, right where it sits, is just getting hit so hard by the wind and the rain.
Well, we saw some of the most intense winds come in from Fort Pierce, and that's where Channel 9 Cynthia Demas continues our live severe weather team coverage. Now, Cynthia, the last couple of times we saw you, it was rather calm and peaceful. What about now?
It was, well, it was then, Vanessa, but you can see things are starting to pick up a little bit now. We have more rain, we have more wind coming in here, and we have some video that we haven't had a chance to show you yet. Go ahead and take a look at. This is some video that we shot before the sun went down last night. What you just saw Tim in, we saw a lot of we saw over here as well, and it caused a lot of the stoplights to go down. We caused a lot of them to be dangling in the middle of the road, a lot of debris down also, and things really were kicking up along the bridge there in Fort Pierce. You could see the water kicking up there, and then of course mobile homes were greatly affected. The prefabricated homes are really taking a beating. We knew that it would, and we saw it was evident. Of course, when the sun comes up, we'll have a better idea of exactly how much damage there is. And of course, on top of everything else, all of the American flags that were out were left quite tattered as well. So back out here live. I think our break is over from the calmness that we saw the past couple of times I talked to you. Things are slowly starting to pick up here, and as we discussed earlier, we do expect it to get pretty strong yet again. Live in Fort Pierce, Cynthia Demas, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
In fact, Cynthia, our meteorologists are saying that you have about 30 minutes or so she's going to be experiencing some more bad weather down there.
Maybe as short as 15, so enjoy it while you can. Let's go back over to Severe Weather Center 9. Tom Terry and Joe Smith are tracking this, and you saw how calm it was down where the eye came ashore in Volusia County, still getting pounded.
That's right. Let me tell you, here's my prediction. In the next few minutes, when you see the shot down there from Fort Pierce, it's going to change. It's going to change a great deal, because right down here to the south, she's been in kind of the calm in the middle of the storm, but we're about ready to get the eastern side of the storm making landfall, and the winds are going to pick up. So if you're listening to us on radio down here, you've had several hours of respite, but we're down around the Stewart area, south of Vero Beach, most of Martin County, or St. Lucie County rather. This is where the side of the storm is about ready to make landfall again, and then we will start to see the weakening of the storm more rapidly as soon as we get everything out from over the Gulf Stream and onshore. But unfortunately, that means that all this rain is still going to continue to pour in. I want to also caution all the folks along the coastline here, just because the storm is going to completely make landfall, you are still in store for a very wet and windy afternoon here. Sustained winds of probably 50 to 60 miles per hour with higher gusts, Titusville down to Port St. John. And this is a very heavy squall that's moving through Christmas, and all this activity is going to be getting closer to downtown Orlando. So as it starts to roll in, the weather will deteriorate across the metro area. We still have potential of tornadoes. Stay tuned. We're putting the updates on all of our county-by-county maps to show you what you can expect throughout the rest of the day today.
All right, Tom, thank you very much.
Let's find out now about Orange County power outages. And again, we're talking about just several hours before Orlando feels the brunt. Channel 9's Zach Klein continues our live severe weather team coverage in Orange County. Zach, what's the latest?
Greg, the latest numbers out from Progress Energy. 5% of their customers, 75,000 total, here in Central Florida are without power. Orange County, 11% of their customers, or 34,000 customers, are without power. 4% in Osceola, 903 customers. Polk County has over 2,700 customers without power. Seminole has 7% of their customers without power, 9,300. And Volusia, 18% of Progress Energy customers without power. That translates to 12,500 homes here in Central Florida without power. As for FP&L, Brevard County just getting pounded, guys. 144,000 customers without power. In Volusia, 29,000 customers. In Seminole, 5,200. You add it all up for FP&L, over 178,000 customers without power for Florida Power and Light. I spoke with the folks at Progress Energy, and they said crews are restoring power as they can. With these sudden swells coming out into the Central Florida area, they're sending crews out when they can. When the strong winds and heavy rain starting to downpour, those crews are returned home to safety. They call it a small army. A small army of personnel are on the streets trying to restore power to those in need. When Hurricane Charlie came here a little over 3 weeks ago, they had over 7,300 employees did Progress helping out the folks in Central Florida, and they say more has arrived and will arrive in the coming days to help restore power in Central Florida now that Hurricane Francis is here. Again, adding all up, 75,000 customers without home for Progress, 144,000 plus for FP&L. The numbers are still coming in. As far as Progress Energy go, guys, their next update will not be for a while. It comes at 11 a.m., and of course, we will have it for you here on Channel 9. In Orange County, near downtown, Zach Klein, Channel 9 Eyewitness News. Guys, let's send it back to the studio.
All right, should be no surprise when we see those numbers go up later on this morning.
At least right now, the vast majority of folks do have power across Central Florida. 13,000 power workers right now staging in Alabama, ready to come our way. We continue with our coverage here of Hurricane Francis this morning. You are looking at pictures from the downtown Orlando area this morning. Again, the calm before the storm. A live picture right now, just a car or two on I-4. Again, the curfew still in place. Stay off the roads unless you, for some reason or other, have to go to work. All right, we have a lot of people that are visiting us, and they came to the Sunshine State, and they haven't seen much sunshine.
We've almost forgotten it's Labor Day weekend because we've had other things to focus on. Reporter Jason Carroll has a look at what the tourists are doing to weather the storm.
The Waddle family had hoped their Saturday would be spent at an amusement park. Instead, these tourists from England are picking up emergency supplies.
What'd you pick up? So we got some Kellogg's cereal.
We've got plenty of water. And snacks. We'll just take it as it goes, you know, just weather the storm, as they say.
The Waddles, like tens of thousands of other stranded tourists in Orlando, are waiting out Hurricane Francis in their hotel room. Samowitzes arrived from New Jersey on Thursday to an unwelcoming hotel clerk.
They were asked for us to either go back to the airport and get in the plane and go back to wherever we came from.
The family made their vacation plans shortly after Hurricane Charlie.
On August 13th, we had booked this, thinking there was no possibility that it's going to be back-to-back hurricanes. So we figured we're home free, we're in good shape. And we booked it, and we came down, and we found out it's coming in.
Most airlines began canceling flights Thursday night. Orlando's airport closed Friday. On Saturday, it made for an indoor playing field for kids with nothing to do but wait. The Stambergers are waiting too. Their Sunday flight to New Jersey canceled. Now they're spending money they hadn't counted on for food and hotel rooms.
We have 2 rooms besides, so we're staying, you know, double the price of each room.
But they say it could be worse. They're booked at the Walt Disney World Resort. The park is closed, but there's still entertainment inside hotel lobbies.
It's going to be a rough couple of days, but hopefully we'll all get through it together and have a good time while we're here.
And there you go. What they did is they brought actually some of the characters into the Disney hotels to try to bring the theme parks to them, because of course all of the theme parks closed yesterday and today as well.
They're also saying that there are thousands, as many as perhaps I think I read 10,000 people who are on cruise ships who can't get back to Florida to the various ports either.
Well, at least maybe you're out cruising in a place
maybe
that's
enjoying
seeing
yourself.
some sunshine. And that's difficult, you know, anytime you come down and you plan. I know they have insurance for vacations, but
still.
I don't know if that comes into play here. And it is Labor Day weekend, lots of plans across Central Florida as well. And I did also hear reports of folks who had a wedding planned for yesterday, so that was, you know, obviously washed out. And one couple had a Hurricane Charlie ruined their wedding, and then Hurricane Francis ruined their next wedding date.
Well, after all that, the marriage ought to be easy for them. Let's hope.
That's right. Let's talk more about Hurricane Charlie, folks. The victims there now having to deal with Hurricane Francis. Channel 9's Jody Fleischer has that story for us. Jody?
One thing we've noticed a lot of as the wind and rain continues to pick up here in the Kissimmee area, we've seen lots of street signs, either like this down around the ground, lots of them bending, flapping in the breeze. You can see this one was taken down and some leaves have already blown around on top of it. That's still debris left over from Charlie. Another thing that is not good news for this area, we've seen a lot of water starting to collect in the roadway. Tom's going to walk on up there so you can see it. That is not a good sign, folks. We are barely into the beginning of this thing, and there's already water collecting on the open roadway and people's driveways. Flooding is typical here along Lake Toho in Kissimmee. A lot of these neighbors here along Lakeshore Boulevard are extremely worried about that because as the water collects, it's going to start to move closer and closer to their homes. Another thing they're worried about in this area, they were hard hit by Charlie. A lot of these homes, if Tom walks up and zooms in a little bit toward that house across the street, you can kind of make out there's a tarp actually flapping up in the breeze, people trying to protect their homes from further damage, and of course, that does not seem like it's going to be possible as Francis begins to kick up here. The wind and the rain getting extremely bad. We've got a sustained wind above tropical storm force, some gusts that are hurricane force already. And we will, of course, continue to look around and bring in more damage as we find it and let you know how things are going out here in Osceola County. Reporting in Osceola County, Jody Fleischer, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Jody, thank you. That is going to be a very unsettling sign for a lot of people because you can look all over Central Florida and you see those blue tarps on roofs.
They are everywhere, and you saw that one tarp there. We don't know if they did a dry-in, which is actually nailing those furring strips there, but again, those people likely getting wet. And a friend of mine in this business that deals with catastrophe said that in the coming months, the big story is going to be all of the mold because of the moisture inside of so many homes here.
One problem after another.
Central Florida. We're going to take a quick break here. We continue with our continuous coverage. Some of the scenes around Central Florida, this coming from the Vero Beach area from earlier today as the storm moved onshore.
And right now, well, this is a live look at downtown Orlando.
And this is an area that we followed during Hurricane Charlie. See the darkness there?
Is that the Conway area?
That would be the Conway Belle Isle area that power was knocked out for so long from the storm, and we haven't gotten confirmation that that area is in the dark, but I think this confirms it for you.
That tells you the story right there.
Our live tower cam looking into darkness. This is the southeastern quadrant of Orlando, appears to be in the dark this morning. We'll have the latest on power outages, also when the weather will really get rough in Orange County. That's coming up.
Welcome back to our continuous coverage of Hurricane Francis. Almost 6 o'clock this morning, so we want to get you up to date and give you the latest information right now on Hurricane Francis.
We'll do our best this morning. We understand a lot of folks out of power right now might be listening to us on the radio. We appreciate that. We'll try to guide you through this storm and also paint you a good picture of what's happening out there. Downtown Orlando, we just showed you the picture from our tower cam, appears to have a lot of the folks in the dark this morning. We want to start this hour with the latest on the forecast and what's happening. Meteorologist Tom Terry, after just a quick rest, is back with us. And Tom, the storm continues its relentless trek across Florida.
That's right. We have seen the outer part of this storm here in the metro area. We've seen the scraps of Francis so far. We have not seen the bulk of this energy because she is just now about ready to work completely over land. As she makes her closer approach to us by the lunch hour, we will really start to feel more and more effects from this storm. And I want you to notice right now, if you're listening to us on radio, we do have very heavy amounts of rain. These are new squalls that are coming in off the Atlantic right now, just past the Kennedy Space Center. This is a very heavy squall by Port St. John, moving down the Beeline Expressway. Orlando's just a little bit of light rain right now, but the rain's about ready to pick up. The squally nature of the winds, where the winds go really whipping for violent short periods of time, that will continue. This is also interesting too. You can see the center of circulation just about completely over land, but this is the eastern side, and I want you to notice from Vero Beach Lots, again, of very heavy pounding rain as the winds continue to blow in, probably at 90 to 100 miles an hour on the northern side of this storm. Lots of heavy rain still developing offshore. And, ladies and gentlemen, all this rain is going to be moving over Florida. And we are trying to wrap a little dry air into the system, but that could present more trouble in the way of severe weather later this afternoon. Now, we're not going to get a whole lot of true daytime heating here because we're going to have so much cloud cover. Temperatures are not going to warm up all that much today, but any sunlight we get working on this system, we're going to see more and more lightning, and we're going to be watching out for a lot of the things we did with Charlie, some isolated pockets of severe weather. 27.2 north, 80.5 west, the wind's 100 miles per hour. And again, for those of us across the interior, if you're listening at home, hopefully you still have power. If not, we are still, the worst is yet to come. The worst is yet to come for us. We're not going to get hit nearly as hard, at least wind-wise, as they did along our southeast coast, but we will still see the winds pick up gradually throughout the day. Between now and 2 o'clock this afternoon, this hurricane will move and weaken to a tropical storm. So she's going to weaken rapidly as soon as we can get her out from over that warm water. Here are the current winds. We're just about sustained tropical storm all through this area. From Daytona Beach, Titusville, certainly further to the south, Melbourne, Sebastian, where it's now probably still hurricane force winds to the south. And we are getting borderline tropical storm for Sanford and Orlando. And these are the latest current wind gusts, 51 miles an hour in Daytona, 43 miles an hour in Sanford. And again, it's going to be the rain totals too, 15 to 20 inches along the coast. If we're lucky, only 10 to 15 inches here across the metro area. A lot more coming up. We're still tracking the rain in Severe Weather Center 9.
And we're checking on some of those numbers. At the last report, Orlando Utilities Commission had just 6,000, but they have another update at 9, and as we showed you that picture, that number is going to go way up. Let's take you over to Volusia County right now. Tim Stockman.
Yeah, he's just been getting hit hard over there, and it just continues for you, Tim, and the folks in Volusia County.
Yeah, it's just relentless over here. I've actually coerced my photographer, Lou Bonnell, to come out of his niche right now, and we're venturing out in the parking lot since the rain has stopped. And we're going to walk this way. We've been showing you this boat all morning. I want to give you a closer look at it. You can see the beating it's taking. You see those white spots there? Well, that's spots where it's been just slammed up against the cement of this seawall. And actually, that's the best spot right there. That's where it's rubbed. But if we go further to the right, Lou, if you can go right up the boat, I don't know if there's enough light. Our shadows are on it too, but you can see where it's rubbed through. All the paint is gone, and we don't know, quite frankly, how much more this boat can take before it sinks. It's been, you can hear it now, slamming up against it. And this is mild. This is mild out here. The boats in this marina have just been getting tossed around. We've been watching the water level here as it rises. The water level rises. This boat actually gets closer and closer to coming up over the top. And when we had those really intense winds about an hour ago, just on cue, the winds have picked up around here dramatically. The boat will actually lift up and tilt over. So we're wondering if at some point, depending on when the tide comes in, whether or not we're going to lose this boat altogether or whether it's going to be parked in our parking lot over there. I'm sure the owner of this boat, we're not sure who it is they're watching right now. This is probably agony right now. We're sorry to do this to you, sir, but your boat's in a lot of trouble. The rain has stopped for the time being. The wind is still pretty relentless. We've been clocking it now well over 40 miles per hour wind gusts. It's been pretty constant now for the last hour and a half, and we're bracing for more rain as it comes. We haven't heard many other damage reports yet. Of course, emergency vehicles haven't been out surveying the scene right now. Quite frankly, they're bunkered in right now, especially over in the beachside area. When you talk about that, ambulances won't go over there right now. Police cars won't go over the bridge. The bridges are closed. The beachside area is completely cut off from everyone else right now. So for those people who actually decided to ignore the evacuation order, they're cut off until further notice, until these winds die down and emergency vehicles can actually make their way over there. But we're keeping an eye on the situation here, and we're definitely keeping an eye on the water level. We expect high tide around 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we're going to have a better idea of exactly how much storm surge we're dealing with. We're on the inland side now. This is the Intercoastal Waterway, but we still believe there will be some effect from that. We're going to keep an eye on it. For now, live in Daytona Beach, Tim Stockman, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Tim, be safe out there. And again, this is one of the more calm moments that we've had Tim on this morning, and they're expecting much more as the storm continues its trek.
Let's go to Brevard County now, and Channel 9's Carl Willis is in Palm Bay. And what are you experiencing there, Carl?
Well, Vanessa, there's very strong wind going on right now. We're protected from this community college building, but you can take a look right behind me and see some of the seagrass that's going right now that's blowing all around. Back behind me, there's a lake. It looks, you can't quite pick it up because there's no light there, but it looks like an ocean with all the waves and the current that looks like it's building up because of that wind. We've been here all night long. We stayed in a room last night and there was debris everywhere, debris flying up against the windows and the power being knocked out. And that's quite a problem right now because the power lines are being knocked out and there are arcing power lines causing trouble. Here's the scene from Melbourne from earlier this morning, where a power line was arcing over an apartment building that is set up right above an apartment building there on Sawgrass, or I believe it's Melrose Place and Strawbridge Avenue there in Melbourne, and it caught fire and gutted the entire apartment building. The fire crews were worried that someone might be set up inside, but that was not the case. Here's what the fire chief had to say.
Power lines had shorted out, started the roof on fire. It has burned out the second floor. We have it under control at this time. Access was hard because of the winds, getting water to it, but they've been able to do that, so we've got it out.
Now, fortunately, no one was injured in that fire. There were some folks who were fearing that they would be evacuated because the smoke was so thick in their building. Fire crews urge you to stay clear of those down power lines and call them immediately if you see those arcing power lines, and stay away and stay safe.